If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge, from worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You're listening to Sweep the League.
Hey, this is George Iceman Gervin, and you're listening to Sweep the League Radio.
What is up, everybody? It is Sweep the League. Rudy Campos Jr. coming to you on a Tuesday night, the Tuesday night delight edition of Sweep the League. Going to be joined by Hall of Famer Derek Garvin. And guess what? It is Hall of Fame Day as the MLB announced their Hall of Fame class for 2025. No Bonds, no Pete Rose. Yeah, we're going to have to get into the three guys that were selected. One of them should have been unanimous, but he wasn't. We're also going to talk to you about the NFL playoffs as you've got the Final Four. You've got Buffalo, Kansas City, Eagles, Commanders. Bet we didn't have a lot of that on our bingo card this year when it came to the Commanders making the Final Four. We're going to get into that as well. Got a whole bunch more to get into. NBA talk. At the end of the show, we're going to be talking about Jeff Garcia and myself on Locked On Spurs today. What is the solution for the San Antonio Spurs struggles? I provided a solution. We'll ask the man, the myth, the legend himself, Derek Garvin, what the solution for him is, plus a whole lot more to get into. Budo Blue Devils, Tim Gonzalez. Appreciate you joining us, Tim Gonzalez. It is cold weather, good cold weather night. Yep, we got snow here where I live, so pretty cold there. What's good, everyone? Let's get it. What up? Leha MCS General Contracting. What is up, man? The best in the business. Trade everyone not named Wemby or Castle. All the damn picks. We're going to get into that later, man. Football season's over, Rudy. It's not over yet. So I got the Final Four, man. Sorry. Got four. You got, three more games left. So then it's over after that, Tim. We cover it till the very end here. Let's bring him on here. No doubt about it here. The Hall of Famer himself, Mr. Derek Garvin. What is going on, man? Derek, I've been at home and I've gained like maybe 7 pounds. I'm going to start this diet thing again.
Why?
I gained it because I haven't been walking or working out. I've just been eating at home and it's,
No, I'm saying why diet? If the 7's not hurting you, if you don't feel bad, then what's the point?
I've got, you know what? I've got a function at the end of May that I have to be my wife's, date for. So I got to look good in that. That's why. So I got to.
I'm sure you look good to her, man, if you put on 30 pounds.
Well, she knew me at my biggest and she loved me then. So you're right. Probably she wouldn't mind me at that all. Stay warm, folks. Jacob Eric, shout out to Jacob Eric, part of the Sweep the League network over at Grading the Market. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. Now I'm into the NFL. I'm not into the NFL. Okay, so tend to like the NFL. But anyway, man, you doing all right? How was the weekend for you, man?
It was great, man. Weekend was cold but nice. Yesterday was nice. A lot of things were canceled yesterday, but I got a chance to go out and spend a little time and train a young man and his little brother and sister. So that was all good. I got a message last night from the dad about how much the young people have grown accustomed to me, how much they like me. So, of course, that made my night. So it's been great.
Dude, I'm going to have to get you to train my daughter. So I probably have to text you later on tonight or tomorrow. We'll talk tomorrow about it because I got to get her trained up and ready to go for the last part of the season here. Talking to Hall of Famer Derek Garvin. First thing about Hall of Fame, man, we're going to get into this real quick because it's real simple to talk about. MLB announced the class of 2025 today. And three guys, CC Sabathia, Billy Wagner, and Ichiro Suzuki. Now, Ichiro was not unanimous, which I don't understand. I think there was one person that did not have Ichiro on their ballot. So he should have been unanimous no matter what. The rest of the class, Billy Wagner, okay. You can get him in. CC Sabathia, okay. You can get him in. The only guy that I really am interested in is Ichiro Suzuki this year. I remember his rookie year. He even played, I believe, in San Antonio with the Missions when he was with Seattle, obviously. And I remember seeing him one time, and I remember seeing him play at Houston in a game. I want to say Houston in a game. And the guy's amazing, man. Ichiro probably is up there in the likes of Tony Gwynn, Robin Yount, probably those type of batters. I mean, that's who I would say I would compare Ichiro to one of the greatest batters. Yeah,
Wade Boggs, Ted Musial. I can go. There's several. It's only I'll say about 7 or 8 of guys that he belongs in the same. Even at his point, his apex, Don Mattingly, but it's not a whole lot of guys that did it throughout their career. And Ichiro is one of those guys. Should have definitely been unanimous. But as you know, right now, who's the only unanimous? Is it still Mariano Rivera?
I want to say it was Mariano Rivera. The only.
He's the only one.
I think so. I think he is the only one, which is crazy. It is super crazy that Mario Rivera is actually, I think, the only one. You are right, man. You're definitely right on that. That's kind of crazy. But the thing with Ichiro is that, and I love what Leha says, Ichiro got robbed of the unanimous election. Find the clown that didn't vote for him. Definitely. You got to find that clown, man. That's crazy. JC, Special League T is in here. Yo.
Who are these voters, man? How could a Ken Griffey, Ichiro, I mean, how could these guys not be unanimous? What part are we missing? Even I'm not a big fan of Derek Jeter, but when you look at what these guys did over their career, and you know Ichiro, man, I mean, come on, man. How could he not be? You explain how could he not be? It's just absolutely asinine. So these people that they got voting, man, it's not all of them, but they got a few people that seem to have personal vendettas against some of these players.
Well, yeah, we've always talked about the guys, Pete Rose and the gambling. That should be overlooked. Who cares about that? You also talk about Barry Bonds in the steroid era. But then again, Bonds was, killing the league before the whole steroid, supposed steroid thing, at every point in his career. At this point, don't induct Pete Rose. It would be sucking with the dude after he's gone. I agree with that. I mean, Pete Rose getting in posthumously is terrible. He should have been in a long time ago. And it's terrible to do it now. But, I think a new commissioner that comes in is probably going to get these guys in no matter what, because it's good. It's the older generation, Derek. They're still voting. If I'm not mistaken, you still got a lot of older guys voting.
No Craig, Biggio, unanimous. I mean, it's so many guys, man. It's absolutely ridiculous. Henry, Aaron. I mean, damn, come on, man.
Yeah, man, it's a lot. Baseball, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Hey, hell yeah about that. Real quick on the Ichiro bandwagon, got a little video here from Barry Bonds.
Ichiro is no different than I am. We have the same technique. We have the same IQ on hitting. We're just two different style of hitters, but the philosophy is exactly the same. The techniques are exactly the same. The way we approach the ball, the way we get to one side to the other, the way we're able to adapt. All of us within that hitting category are technically identical. The thing is that each one has a different way they do it. Ichiro and Tony Gwynn were more hitters that would hit base hits and technically sound in that aspect. I was technically sound and making contact, just some of mine went over the fence.
Yeah, so Barry Bonds basically saying what we were saying right now was Ichiro, I mean, one of the best headers in the game's ever seen, right of the likes of Tony Gwynn. Like we mentioned, Robin Yount, Wade Boggs, Paul Molitor's another guy. Just a great batter, well-deserved. Should have been unanimous, wasn't unanimous, and that's the crazy part. One more baseball tidbit, Jared, because we're going to talk a whole lot of baseball. This is going to be on Grading the Market, STL Grading the Market. They found, I don't know if you know about sports cards much on when it comes to these days, Derek, but they found the Paul Skeens rookie ML debut was pulled by an 11-year-old kid. This 11-year-old kid has already made 6 figures by just opening that pack of cards and getting it. So, I mean, this reminds me of when I pulled that Luka Doncic card, not as big as this one, but an 11-year-old kid finding the MLB debut patch auto 1/1 Paul Skeens. I was thinking if Derek Gervin could go back and get a card, what kind of 1/1 card would you have? Would you have maybe half of the UTSA jersey, half of the Nets jersey and the autograph in the middle. Like, what could you imagine the $500,000 Derek Gervin 1-of-1 card be?
Wow, that's a heck of a question there. Yeah, mine would be. It would have to have. I would have to pay homage to UTSA, and so the other half would be just a picture of me. But I got to get UTSA in there, and then maybe my Nets jersey. But I definitely could not leave out UTSA. So that would be mine with UTSA on one side and the New Jersey Nets for giving me the respect that they gave me. That would be mine. But I tell you what, this Paul Skeens, if he keep throwing that ball the way he's throwing now,
oh my God,
that price is going to quadruple, quintuple, whatever you want to do. The way he's been throwing that ball.
Yeah, Paul Skeens, man. I don't know if he's ever going to get up to Nolan Ryan stats, but I mean, the kid is good. He is really, really good. So congratulations to the 11-year-old who pulled the Paul Skeens card, man. A magnificent card. Everyone hit the like button on the way out. Definitely hit the like button on the way out. I appreciate that, Tim. NFL, man. We saw coaching changes already coming up. We've seen Ben Johnson go to Chicago. We hear Aaron Glenn rumors. We've got the Final Four in the NFL. Let's go real quick into the Final Four for the NFL before we get into some coaching changes that have been made or are going to be made, Derek. But right now we've got Kansas City, Buffalo. We've got the Eagles and Commanders. Now, nobody would have ever picked the Commanders in the Final Four. I mean, the other three teams made a perfect case for it. But the Commanders in the Final Four, and they just put a wallop on Detroit and crushed everybody, including yours and I's, thoughts of a Detroit Super Bowl this year. Commanders got to be respected by the Eagles, you would think, right? This Philadelphia can't look at this and be like, this is kind of a cakewalk to the Super Bowl.
Well, one thing, the Eagles are going to be a lot healthier defensively. I thought we would get some of our guys back for the playoffs, but of course we only got a couple back, and I got Montgomery back on the offensive side. But when you're missing guys like Aiden Hutchinson and those guys, it's hard, and especially when you're dealing with a guy with the legs of Jaden Daniels. So looking at that young man there, I'm not going to take any credit away from the Commanders. I just think it's going to be tough for the Eagles as well because the young man, I mean, it's all about getting hot at the right time, Rudy, and you know that. And the Commanders, if you look at it, they've been consistent all year, 12-5. It's amazing. They have new owner, new general manager, new coach, new quarterback. I mean, if you look at it, man, it's been phenomenal. You got Magic Johnson on board, and they're a team that has to be taken serious. It's going to be a very tough game, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Commanders could pull it off because they can score, one of the best offenses. And the Eagles are not a team, if you look at their history, they're not a team that play well coming from behind.
Yeah, they're really not. And that's something that I think we have to really look at when it comes to the Commanders and the Eagles. Eagles are obviously going to be favored. There's no doubt about that. But the cardiac Commanders, as they're being called, coming from behind, you have to respect Jaden Daniels enough to be worried about what he can do against a team like the Eagles. Now, the Lions were a little decimated on defense. We get that part right there. I totally understand that. But they beat a tough Bucs team to start the playoff in. They beat, obviously, the number one seed in Detroit. I have to ask you, how do you like their chances against the Eagles? Because personally, I give them more than a fighting chance. I think they can actually upset the Eagles and it not be an issue. I wouldn't be mad about it.
I don't like when people start anointing people as the greatest this and greatest that after you've done something for 1 year. But I have to come out of my comfort zone on this young man. This might be the best rookie breakout that we've seen in, I'll just say, many, many years. How about that? I won't say ever. But right now, when you look at the way the young man has played, and you know it's not a fluke because he was the Heisman Trophy winner just last year. And a lot of people had him go, wish he would have went number one to the Bears instead of Caleb Williams. So this is not a fluke, and they're going to be hard to beat. They're clicking on all cylinders right now, and it's going to be tough. Like I said, the Eagles don't have a history. If you get out early on them and make Jalen Hurts more to a passer, that's the best chance for the Commanders to win. So for me, it's a toss-up.
Yeah, I agree with Sith here. Shout out to Sith Lord Elias, part of the STL 316 Wrestling Podcast. That comes to you weekly. There'll be another episode dropping. We're going to be covering Raw, SmackDown, get into Saturday Night Main Event, which happens this Saturday, the 25th here in San Antonio. So be sure to go catch Raw, San Antonio Main Event, Saturday Night Main Event in San Antonio. Also catch STL 316 with Sith Lord Elias, the Doctor of Style Sith, and myself weekly. He says that the Commanders' air attack is better than the Eagles' run attack. I fully agree. If the Commanders can make Jalen Hurts beat them, I think Commanders have a great chance if they make him try. Because remember, Jalen Hurts got hurt this week. He hurt his knee. So he's not 100%. And when you pressure Jalen Hurts, the Eagles look like a whole different team, man. Especially if you're able to stop Saquon Barkley. I love what he says here. Bills and Commanders, book it. That's his Super Bowl. I like that. I like Bills and Commanders. Brings me back to the Mark Rippon and Jim Kelly days in the Super Bowl. For you kids that go way back then, not many of y'all do. But
Mark,
we get a rematch from that Super Bowl.
Shout out to Mark Rippon. Yes, sir.
Can you name? Now, I got asked a question. I mentioned Mark Rippon. I mentioned they were the Redskins back then. They go, there's no way you can name more than one player on Mark Rippon. I said, come on. Mark Rippon, Art Monk is another guy.
Art Monk, well, okay.
Darryl Green on the defensive side. I mean, who was I couldn't remember the running back though. I know at one point it wasn't Ernest Biner, was it? He's for the Browns.
No, I don't believe no. And we know it wasn't. If I go way back, to the Joe Gibbs, we know it wasn't that guy. Who was the most one of the most popular running back? John Riggins. We know it wasn't him.
I thought Chris Dishman was a receiver as well on that team. I couldn't remember, but
he moved around a little bit. But I'm not sure if he was on that team. But yeah, that's one of the teams that was overachieved. And I don't even know, Rudy, though, if the Commanders were to win, would it really be overachieving? Because going into the playoffs, the Lions were the head and shoulders above everyone else at first. Yeah. And then as we got near the playoffs and they still didn't get a lot of players back, you start hearing more talk about the Ravens and the Chiefs. So people were sleeping on the Commanders. But if you look at what this young man has done this season, would it really be a surprise if the Commanders had one more big day in them? I wouldn't be surprised. I like the Eagles. And I know Saquon was made for the Rams, the 255 yards, the 205 yards. But this is going to be a different ball game. And if the Commanders were to put up big points, I think they win the game as well. I think they can win this game.
Yeah. I'm gonna go against the grain, what you were talking about. It would be a surprise if they beat the Eagles. Earlier I said, I wouldn't shock me if they put up a fighting chance. They have a fighting chance. I could see them, and I actually have a Commander Bills Super Bowl. I like that. That's what I just picked, when the games were done. But deep down inside, it would surprise me. I mean, a rookie quarterback doing what he does. And, you have Brian Robinson Jr., if it was a contract year for Brian Robinson Jr., highest paid running back in the league probably after this. Then you go Terry McLaurin. That's the thing. I think this Commanders team is overachieving, and they've already got. They've been paid already. Put it that way. They already got everything that they ever could want in a season to start with Jaden Daniels, and I think it would be a shocker if they beat Philadelphia. But would it be a huge surprise? Probably not. I don't know. I would be shocked if they did, but I wouldn't be super surprised if it happened.
This is why I wouldn't be surprised. I'll name two teams offensively that these guys. You got the Cincinnati Bengals with Chase and Burrow.
Yeah.
And then who's another really good offensive team? The Ravens.
Yeah.
Right now, they look like everything that people thought the Ravens were going to be. They don't have the same running back like a Derrick Henry, but when you're putting up points like that, everybody thought when the Ravens got Henry that you outscore them to win. And see, that's what I see with the Commanders. And it's going to be hard to stop that young man, but the only thing I get nervous about is sometimes you just you reach a pinnacle a little too early, and then you come back down to earth, especially a rookie. And that would be the only negative thing. He's played so well. And, you know, most people have a one-off game, kind of like we talked about Oregon. And then that one game, they just crashed. And that's the only thing I worry about with the young man. He's been saluted so much over these last few weeks. Will he be able to come and deliver again under the bright lights against the Philadelphia Eagles, a team that we know has won Super Bowls?
Yeah, that is true. Before we get to the question that I got for Derek, we got some comments. Dorthodium, Lord of Abomination. Orale, I think the Cowboys still got a shot to make it to the Super Bowl. Not quite yet this year, John. Not quite yet. Sid the saying, let's go. We definitely, because we're talking about STL 316. We're going to be previewing Saturday Night Main Event. Leha is LMAO Bills. So FYI, Leha and the Doctor of Style, Sith Derek, they have a bet. I think Leha took the Chiefs and Sith had the Bills. From last I heard, it was whoever loses has to go through a table or something in wrestling. So hopefully we get that on video, but they do have a bet going on that game.
Is he laughing at the Bills' chances?
No. I don't think so. I think it's because Sith took the Bills and Leia took the Chiefs. I think that's what I'm going at because they have a little bet going.
But I'm looking at the laughing my ass off.
Tim Gonzalez.
This two teams this year. One of them's still alive, and that's the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, neither one of my Super Bowl picks are alive. In fact, one of my teams was over after week 1. This Saturday night, Chris Leha versus Sith Lord Elias in an I Quit match. Everybody's laughing at that because that would be the best match on the night. Injured secondary, injured hurts. Commanders going to Super Bowl. And as a Cowboy, it hurts me to say that. Well, wouldn't it hurt you to say Eagles Super Bowl bound or Commanders Super Bowl bound? I mean, they're both in the NFC East. So, Cowboy fan, you're hating that. You're an AFC guy this weekend. Bills finally getting revenge over Pretty Boy Mahomes. Guns up, Chiefs down at Leha. So he's talking to smack already. Rudy, did you see Ian Jackson dunk earlier this evening? I did not, Tim. I can go back and take a look at it. Suns up, guns up. Udo Red Raiders, a la V. All right, well, we got everybody in the chat, man. So I want to ask you this before we go on from the NFL talk here. You and I talked Buffalo, Baltimore. Behind the scenes, we said whoever wins that game probably going to be your MVP. Even though we decided it in the regular season, had a feeling the winner's going to be the MVP. Now, Bo Nix had a really good rookie season. Jaden Daniels had an equally good rookie season. Because Jaden took his team to the NFC Championship, does that solidify him as Rookie of the Year?
Well, I thought he solidified it in the last several weeks of the season. Honestly, it was a tough competition, but I think he had already done enough for me. And I thought he was going to be I had Bo Nix near mid-season. I had him as the Rookie of the Year. But as the season progressed and the Commanders got back to doing the things they were doing earlier in the year, I think he kind of cemented himself. When they went 12-5, to me, that was the Rookie of the Year. And I thought he played well this year. Of course, I don't want to take anything from Bo Nix, but yeah, I think Jaden did enough in the regular season and the last 3-4 weeks to cement himself as the Rookie of the Year.
I'll give it to you there because I've had Bo Nix at the beginning of the year all the way through the year, and I figured Bo would still get Rookie of the Year, but I think you're right. The last couple of weeks and, of course, what's been going on in the playoffs, I mean, Jaden deserves it. I'm not gonna try to make any excuses. I'm not gonna try to win people's hearts. Jaden Daniels, he really deserves to win Rookie of the Year. So hopefully it'll be a Jaden Daniels. Yo.
What's so bad about the co-rookie or co-MVP? What's so bad about that? I'm just trying to figure out. If you have two guys that were basically on equal standing, okay? Because we look at Josh. Josh did more with less. As we know, the Ravens had 9 All-Pros. Bills had 2, okay? But then on the other side, you look at Lamar with the 41 touchdowns and the 4 interceptions. Why does either guy have to lose? And that's the same, I feel, basically about Bo Nix. After looking at what happened with the Russ Wilson last year, the debacle, I call it, why can't both guys share that honor, man? They were the head and shoulders above everyone else. And so why do one of them have to win and one of them have to lose? That's what I don't understand.
Neither do I. MVP is a regular season award. No, give that to Nick. That's what I'm saying. I don't, in this season alone, I have yet to see a person pull away in either award. I mean, it's always been Knicks, Daniels, Knicks, Daniels, Knicks, Daniels. No one's pulled away. Same thing with Allen and Lamar.
Hunter, Genty, same thing. Hunter, Genty.
In the Heisman, we saw the exact same thing. And it came out to be more of a popularity vote in the Heisman. You know, the media pushing, I think, towards Travis Hunter. But in the MVP voting, I am all for co-MVP. I am all for co-rookie of the year, offensive co-rookie of the years. I am 100% for it. I will not fight back on that. All 4 guys deserve their spotlight, and they deserve their shine. There's no doubt about that.
Have you ever heard Grant Hill and Jason Kidd complain?
Never.
Because they both know that they were both deserving.
Yeah.
And that's what we should go by, not the popularity. Go by what makes sense. Both of those guys were deserving. I don't think either one should lose out. They both had excellent seasons.
100%. They both did. And actually, all 4 of them did. All 4 of them deserve it. I think it'd be a travesty if they didn't give co-rookie of the year and co-MVP out in the NFL this year. Talking to Hall of Famer Derek Irvin, Rudy Campos Jr. Before we go to our first commercial break and our only commercial break, which is halftime for us here at Sweep the League TV. We got some coaching changes. Derek, first one here.
Everyone get back to work. Listen, thank you so much. My family and I, we are beyond excited. This is exactly where we wanted to be. It's exactly where we want to be.
Where we want you.
This is going to be a challenge. I am well aware of that. I know what this division's about. And this is exactly where we want to be. We're going to go after this thing, and it's going to take all of us in this room. It's going to take this locker room. It's nothing more important than that locker room and us serving that locker room and those players. All right? They need to understand that, and they need to feel that from us every single day. And if we do that, the wins are going to come. The playoffs are going to come. All right? Can't wait to get to know you guys. And thank you so much for the warm welcome. Thank you.
So this is it. A big day looms for Jets fans. Here's what's going on. Aaron Glenn, the top choice to be the next coach of the New York Jets, the next 8C of the NYJ, as a famous man once said, is in the building. The Jets are interviewing Aaron Glenn a second time, in-person interview. And my understanding is this is not really an interview. This is time for Aaron Glenn to sit there, to ask questions, to answer questions, to get comfortable with some things about the organization, how it's going to run and all of that, communication, otherwise, get some questions answered, and see if he wants to be the new Jets coach. If he gets those questions answered, I expect Aaron Glenn to be the new head coach of the New York Jets. That's a pretty big deal. And, you know, it's interesting, too, because Jets drafted him. He was an all-pro there. He was a superstar. He got his coaching start there. A lot of good feelings in the organization. Now, he still does have a meeting with the Saints. That's going to be Wednesday. But if all goes well with the Jets, he's not going to get there. And, you know, for the Jets who have, I think, let's say, had a tough couple decades, this is the top candidate. It's a leader. It's a guy who knows the organization and wants to be there. this is a home run hire. Got to get some things right. Got to get the offense right. Got to figure out the quarterback situation. There's a lot. But for Aaron Glenn, if Aaron Glenn ends up being the next head coach of the New York Jets, they can worry about all that other stuff later. This is a born leader and perfect for this organization.
All right, we heard it there from Ian Rappaport, and also in the introduction to Ben Johnson to his new team, the Chicago Bears. Both guys part of the Detroit Lions' success this year, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. Starting off with Ben Johnson. I like the hire for Chicago. I'm still not sold on Caleb, but if there ever is an offensive mind to simplify the offensive playbook and maybe get the most out that he can of Caleb Williams, might be Ben Johnson, Derek.
I don't want to say too much, man, because I'm disappointed. First, I'm going to thank him. I'm congratulate him because he decided to do something that's best for his family and himself. But on the other side, man, I'm a little selfish on this one because I hate that we're losing him. Mm-hmm. That offense of the Detroit Lions. So I'm kind of torn. But, yeah, I definitely want to wish him well. I think he'll do wonders for the Bears. He's going to be a disciplinarian. I hope people know that. He's not a pushover. And I think Caleb Williams needs a guy that's a stern guy. And I think, he'll be the type of guy be cool with the player, flexible, kind of like Dan Campbell. But Ben Johnson is not going to be a pushover. And I think right away the Chicago Bears become a better team.
I agree on that because, like I said, I think if there's going to be a guy that can simplify that playbook for Caleb and not make it so complicated, Ben Johnson is the guy. He's going to get the most out of his players, as you saw him in Detroit under Dan Campbell. Moving on to Aaron Glenn. Now, Aaron Glenn, I remember telling you a long time ago, Leha's in here as well, that he's heard it too. I figured Aaron Glenn was a lock to go to the Saints, which he still has that interview to go to New Orleans. But with the Jets pretty much guaranteeing that job for him, if he wants it, what direction would you may want to go? Because the Jets, you're in New York. You've got a defense that's already there in place. You've got a receiving core that you can work with. You need a quarterback. But then you look at the Saints. The Saints were going to be a good team this year, minus the injuries. So you've already got an established team. You've got an established quarterback in Spencer Rattler. Honestly, the sexy job is New York, but the smart job is New Orleans.
Early in the day, I had heard he had accepted that job, but I've heard about the interview tomorrow. But for some reason, I think Aaron Glenn is leaning more towards the Saints. And I think tomorrow they're going to make that announcement. I had heard earlier that he had already taken that job, but I guess I was kind of whoever said that was premature. But I still think he's going to take that job. I like the Jets, but I just think they have too much going on, too many question marks still. First, you got to deal with what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. And then you got some head cases on that team. And I know Aaron was the major one, but he wasn't the only one. And they just a team I call in flux right now. You don't know what's going on. So for me, if you look at the beginning of the season, how the Saints were playing, they were one of the teams looked like they were going to be in contention for the Super Bowl. So you get those guys healthy, I would say the Saints would be the better option.
I'm going to say what I did say, and I like the fact that I'm going to stick with Aaron Glenn to the Saints because, like we said, it's the smart job, the smart move. Now, what happens if he if he goes to the Jets? I totally understand it. It's the sexy move. It's New York City. It's where he played. He was a dominant player for New York. Let me know what you think of this. If Aaron Glenn turns down the Jets, goes to the Saints, Mike McCarthy to the Jets.
Oh, you good, man? It's the weather. I'm kind of stopped up. I was out in the snow yesterday. I'm gonna have to take a Sudafed when I get off the air.
What do you think of Mike McCarthy to the Jets?
It's a good move. Hey, Rudy, but you know the only thing I don't like about that Jets job? There are certain teams, man, that give you a year or two or whatever, and then, they quick to move on. And I'm thinking about Aaron Glenn. If you succeed in New Orleans, man, you never have to buy food, another meal in your life. And that's the type team that'll give you a 10-year chance, kind of like Mike Tomlin, 10, 15 years. What's my man before Mike Tomlin? Pittsburgh.
Bill Cowher.
Yeah, Bill Cowher. See, one of those type teams. If you win in New Orleans, Sean Payton. If you win in New Orleans, man, you Hall of Fame, man. That's how they treat you. And so for me, that's the kind of team I want to go to. No more wearing the bags on the hats, the Aints. It's all about those Saints. And if you could go there and win with the Saints, man, you become a treasure. And that's the kind of opportunity I would want.
It's crazy because if you look at all the openings in the NFL right now, New Orleans is the best job. It's a team that was decimated by injury. They had a lot of injuries. That's the best job. You have a good 1-2 quarterback, and actually 3 if you had Carr, but Rattler, Hayner, and Carr. You got the quarterbacks established. Alvin Kamara, you may want to go get in a deep running back class. You can go get a running back this year in the draft. You've got a receiver. You've actually got a few good receivers. Hell, you got some really good receivers in New Orleans. You've got, I think it's Juwan Johnson and Taysom Hill at the tight end position. Your offensive line is very workable. They just got injured. They had the injury bug. You can maybe set up the defense a little bit better. But what more can you ask for? This is a good possibility. Now, if Aaron Glenn goes to the Jets, I have one person in mind. Before we go to commercial break, we'll talk this real quick. I have one person in mind. Cliff Kingsbury to the Saints. With those kind of weapons, I'm not opposed to that, Derek. What do you think about Kingsbury to the Saints?
Well, I mean, the guy did wonders in college, man. I mean, we know he when he was coaching, he did well. Texas Tech or whatever. Cliff has a name around the NFL, and I think the players would buy in. Cliff is not a pushover either. So I think he would be good for that locker room. And Rudy, I like the way he is offensively, but teams, and you mark my words, teams are going to start trying to emulate the Detroit Lions offensively. And that's why I hate losing Ben Johnson. They're ready to be like the Golden State Warriors when teams start trying to be like them. Nobody could do it better than the Warriors, but I think teams are going to start trying to do that, and Cliff would be the perfect guy for that. If you're talking about being innovative and going to a team on that aspect, I think he would be perfect for the Saints.
Very young team right there.
Mike McCarthy for the Jets would be a good fit. I mean,
I love that.
I think that would be the best coach they've had in a while. I think that would be a good fit. Pete Carroll and all those guys. Of course, we know about names, Rex Ryan. But, yeah, I think Mike McCarthy would be a breath of fresh air for the Jets.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think the Cowboys are probably going to end up going either Kellen Moore or Robert Saleh is who I think is going to end up being. But to get into some comments, the Cowboys, I think it's going to be either Kellen Moore or Robert Saleh is what I'm thinking.
Kellen, well, I don't know about
I do
Saleh.
not like Kellen Moore.
I think I can see Kellen Moore. I can see that, yeah.
It's Jason Garrett 2.0, man. It's not going to do anything at all for the Cowboys. Josh Allen doesn't sell the same as Lamar Jackson. Tim Gonzalez is trolling me bad. I don't know. We'll see if we can get Sith to comment more on that. Josh, Wake Forest is up on the Tar Heels. Thank you for that. Leha saying the Saints are going to do something stupid. I can already see it. He also says, Derek, he hopes you're right about Aaron Glenn being the next Saints head coach. I hope he is a Saints head coach. And he says, Cliff, I don't know, man. It's kind of shaky. So he's not on the Cliff Kingsbury bandwagon right now. When we get back from the commercial break, we're going to talk some NBA hoops. We're going to make a mention of that team in Ohio for winning and why we thought Ryan Day was not supposed to be there, but now he just secured his job. Also, Spurs talk. I was on Locked On Spurs, and we're going to kind of go over those solutions. And one last thing before we go at the end of the night in the second half of the show, I want to see if Derek can give me his top 5 actors, as we talked about earlier on the phone. That's the impossible part. Who are your top 5 actors? In fact, who are the top 5 greatest actors of all time? Get your picks in the chat. We'll be back. It's Hall of Famer Derek Gervin and Rudy Campos Jr. Are you looking for a contracting company that gets the job done right the first time? Look no further than MCS General Contracting. MCS specializes in top quality concrete work, including patios, driveways, foundations, and swimming pools. The team of experts are dedicated to delivering exceptional results and unparalleled customer satisfaction. At MCS General Contracting, they're not just hardworking, they're local. Based in San Antonio, they are committed to building relationships and trust within the community. That's why MCS guarantees your satisfaction. They pride themselves on getting the job done right the first time, every time. So why wait? Contract MCS General Contracting today to schedule your project and experience the difference for yourself. MCS General Contracting, building a better San Antonio, one project at a time. Proud sponsors of Sweep the League.
You are watching Sweep the League TV. Make sure you subscribe and catch our new videos.
Sweep the League TV with Rudy, Derek, and Coach Kia. Let's get back to the live show. You are watching the best in the business.
The 2025 College Football National Champions on Lion Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes. Scott?
All right, welcome back to Sweep the League TV. Hall of Famer Derek Gervin, Rudy Campos Jr. Derek, being a Michigan guy, he did not like that at all. But the 2025 National Championship, CFP National Championship, Ohio State Buckeyes, not only did they run through the bracket and they dominated through the bracket, but they saved Coach Ryan Day's job because that guy was on the hot. And I don't care what, any analyst on ESPN or anybody says, that guy's job was on the hot seat. And they made sure that seat cooled off by winning the 2025 National Championship, Derek.
I'm going to give them credit. First, I'm going to say congratulations. As you know, I don't like it because I'm a Michigan guy.
Yeah.
But we had our time last year. And Ohio State Ryan Day was on the hot seat after losing to Michigan 4 years in a row. And so basically his job was on the line. He had to win the championship. I don't think getting to the championship would have been enough. And then he had the extra pressure of them going into the tournament as the favorites, even over the Longhorns and these other Oregon and those teams. So for those guys to come around at the right time and continue to buy in, I thought it was fantastic. But the part I'm not upset about, put some more respect on the Big Ten. Yeah. And so that part on that, I have to give them credit for that. And congratulations, Ohio State. You earned it. You're the best team this year. You are the CFP champions. And I can't take that away from them. They were clearly the best team in the CFP, without a doubt, head and shoulder.
Without a doubt. And yeah, Jacob Eric's right. They got to beat Michigan next year. That's the game. It's like I've always said as a Tar Heel fan, we can win. We can go win 2 games the entire year, lose the rest. But as long as those 2 games are against Duke, I'm happy. It's a national.
Rudy, they don't have to beat Michigan next year now. That'll be a goal. But we saw what happened this year. They used that as motivation.
Yeah.
So
true.
Ryan Day has secured his job. So when you win the championship, if they were to slip up against Michigan next year, guess what? All the donors and everyone else, they're going to still believe because they're going to expect the exact same thing to happen again. We lost to Michigan. We used it for motivation. And then we go out and we do our job again like they did this year. And, hey, they played well, man. Notre Dame made a run at it. But the best team won. No question.
100% the best team won. And we're going to see, we'll do our college football playoff preview show, obviously, when college football kicks up at the end of July, early August. We'll talk more about them, but congratulations out to the Ohio State Buckeyes. Quick reminder, the Doctor of Style Sith and myself for STL 316 coming to you this week. We're going to be previewing Saturday night main event this Saturday in San Antonio. Here's a couple of the matchups right here that you are seeing. We're also going to preview the Royal Rumble, not this week, but next week. So we've got a lot coming up for STL 316. Do not miss it, guys. All right, NBA bump. Let's go. All right, Derek. So NBA bump. We're going to talk some San Antonio Spurs here in a little bit. Then we're going to get into our top 5 all-time actors on our spotlight segment. But NBA bump, man. Karl Malone, Kevin McHale, Tim Duncan, Rasheed Wallace.
Kobe's the GOAT, right? Outside of GOAT status, Rasheed Wallace, arguably the second greatest power forward to ever play the game. He was better than Barkley, just as good as, if not better than Garnett. Maybe a step behind Tim Duncan, but I'm not even sure about that. I believe Rasheed Wallace may have been the greatest power forward of all time. He was putting up Shaq numbers against Shaq, unguardable, one of the only power forwards with a 3. Look at Rasheed Wallace's game. He had no weaknesses. But Rasheed Wallace, like Allen Iverson, they were not company men. They don't dance to nobody's tune but their own. That's the problem with Jaylen Brown. If you remember Grant Hill in the first couple years in the NBA.
Injuries, he was a beast, man.
He was a beast. Grant Hill was going to be the GOAT until he got injured. Before Mike, behind, and before Kobe had his ankle never got messed up.
All right, let's talk some top power forwards, and obviously the top part of Grant Hill being the next Michael Jordan. So we're talking a little GOAT talk, but we're talking about guys who don't get a lot of the respect here. I see you shaking your head. Now,
I know I'm shaking my head because of the guy you chose on here, Dr. Umar, man. Yeah, that guy, I don't take him serious, man. He's a guy. He's his blackness. I'm a black. He's a blackness this, blackness that, and there's a time and a place for that crap. But as far as Rasheed, as he calls him, Rasheed is a very underrated player. We know he could do it all. He play inside, outside. A marvelous defender. He still doesn't get enough credit. One of the guys that they always overlook, but part of it is because of his behavior. If you look at all the technical fouls that he got, I think a lot of people punish him for that. And then you got to remember, Rudy, he has never been like first option. He's always been a guy, even at Portland, he wasn't the first option. He's a guy, it kind of reminds me of Robert Horry, a guy that you could use to hit the big shots, make the big defensive play. And I think a lot of people don't give him credit because his game wasn't really flashy. But you talk about a guy that could do it all, and I know this might offend some people. If I had to compare him and a guy right now in the Milwaukee Bucks who could do more, who was more versatile, I take Rasheed Wallace over Giannis Antetokounmpo any day, any night.
Can I go a little further and say that a guy you and I talked about, I would take a prime Antonio McDyess over Giannis Antetokounmpo.
People said I was crazy, but people told me I was crazy, but they never went and looked at Antonio McDyess when he was healthy, and he could do more things than Giannis. But when you talk about Rasheed, man, that's a tough one because then you got to look at the team he was on. You got guys like Chauncey. Oh man. If you look at skill set, is Rasheed Wallace a Hall of Famer?
Yeah. Yeah, he is.
he adjusted his game, and sometimes that hurts players, moving forward, like an Andre Iguodala. Yeah. Guys who were first options, Ray Allen, they were first options, and then they did what was best for the team. Rashid was a guy that could have been first option on some teams if they needed him to get 25 points nightly. I believe he was capable of that. He shot a lot of jumpers, but he also got to the basket, and she was a problem. So, yeah, for me, he's one of the most underrated players that ever played in the NBA.
You know, the thing with Wallace is the fact of this here. So, I mean, played with the Pistons, won there. If Rashid would have stayed, this is kind of crazy, but would his numbers have been super elevated to where he would have been considered one of the best in the game had he stayed in Washington? He was the number one option. He was the main option. But then he got traded he went to Portland. And that's where he kind of started to gel a lot more. But being the top option in Washington, I think he could have got a lot more of Rashid there.
If you put him with the same Bobby Jackson and all those guys, Mike Bibby and those guys, you telling me he couldn't win in Chris Webber's place? And, I love Chris, Detroit, Michigan, Detroit Country Day. I know him personally. But if you gave Rashid, you say he's not great, Darth, but I don't know. Name something that he really couldn't do. So a lot of times people look at statistics, and that's what they look at. They don't look at the overall scope of things. There's not much that he couldn't do. I don't want him playing my point guard, bringing the ball up and down the floor. But other than that, what couldn't he do? He could do it all.
He could do everything. And I love this comment by Darth here, by John, because I'm gonna call BS on a lot of people for this. But in '97, Keith Van Horn was a part of the Tim Duncan draft. Personally, Tim Duncan, we know what he became. He was an inside presence, reminded me so much of Brad Daugherty coming out. And Brad Daugherty is one of my favorite basketball players. Low post move, very dominant, very skilled, very crafty, just was a wizard around the basket. But Keith Van Horn was the guy who I had circled as the Spurs draft pick. Now, this is before they got the number one pick. I had the Spurs at number 3, drafting number 3. I figured it was either going to be Van Horn or Ron Mercer at the time. And I thought Van Horn next to David Robinson would have been killer for the San Antonio Spurs. But he's right. No one likes him but Keith Van Horn. Keith Van Horn could have definitely been a much better player in a different circumstance. If he's on the Spurs, his career is like catapult. Yeah. It's easy to say.
Yeah, he got one of the best agents in NBA history.
Yeah.
He was getting paid years after he stopped playing, kind of like Luol Deng. But Van Horn was making more money. Great agent and a great player when he was healthy. People don't, I don't know, man. A lot of people, Larry Bird is not the only Caucasian guy that could play. Keith Van Horn could do it. He's another one that could do it all offensively. I'm a big Deadlift Shrimp fan, right?
Ooh,
I think Pete had a little more to his game. Van Horn had a little more to his game than Deadlift Shrimp. Deadlift was a better passer. But you're just talking about skill. Keith Van Horn, we're kind of looking at Keith Van Horn right now in Duke.
Yeah, Cooper Flag.
Cooper Flag, and that's not a bad thing. I don't want people to take that wrong. Keith Van Horn was an excellent player. Take away injuries, he's a perennial all-star. And I hope people realize that. So when I say Cooper Flag and has a little Keith Van Horn in him, that's not an insult at all. That's actually a good thing.
Yeah, that's not an insult at all. Leha's back. He says, they will die on this hill. Timothy Theodore Duncan is the greatest basketball player of all time. I probably won't ever argue that fact because I could definitely put Tim way the hell up there. Personally, I have Jordan and Jabbar 1A, 1B. You can decide who you want. That's my own thing. But I mean, hell, people got pissed off on Twitter when they said, do you agree with Michael, Jabbar, and LeBron as the top 3 players in NBA history? I said, I disagree completely. LeBron doesn't even make my top 5. I don't even know if he makes my top 7, to be honest. I mean, he doesn't make top 7, but
you know where I've got it,
top
number
5.
8.
Yeah, you got him at 8, but I mean, Tim Duncan's in my top 5. There's no doubt about that. Magic
I got
Johnson.
Tim number 6, but you can't. Only reason I have Tim 6 is because I put Bill Russell in there. I didn't want to disrespect Bill. I know he played in the era where they weren't a whole lot of teams, but to be going against Wilt Chamberlain and Walt Bellamy and those guys, he held his own. He more than held his own, and the guy averaged 20 rebounds a game over his career. So I wanted to give him the due that he deserved. But if I talked about it last night, so it's funny you bring it up. And I talked to a friend last night, and I was like, man, let me see. Because I got Jabbar and Mike, of course.
Yeah.
And then I got Wilt Chamberlain at 3. I had Bill Russell 4, Magic 5, and Duncan 6. I've been thinking about switching Duncan and Bill Russell around and making Tim 4, then Magic, and then Bill Russell. So that's my list. And, of course, you know, I got Bird, and then I got LeBron.
Yeah, because I've got Bird way above LeBron. I mean, LeBron doesn't really fit in my top 5 at all anywhere. I mean, I don't know. It's just he just doesn't fit in there at all. 100%. Darth is in here. Says the greatest list is Jordan, Bird, and Magic. I mean, I won't argue that either. All 3 guys are, you know, legends of the game. They're growths of the game, in my opinion. Duncan never missed a playoffs. Played in finals in 3 different decades. I mean, the accolades are there. The accomplishments are there. Never missed the playoffs, 50 win seasons, 20 plus consecutive years in the playoffs. I mean, the accolades are there. And you can't say, well, Jordan missed the playoffs in one of his years in his career. I mean, that has happened. Then you go other rounds, you know, Jabbar, yada, yada. But I mean, you can make so many cases for so many players that you and I have agreed that when you come to me, as long as you don't say, well, I'm going to tell you this right now, Bill Cartwright is probably the greatest player of all time, then we got a problem. Because then I'm going to argue all the facts. I'm going to argue everything. But if you come to me, what's that?
It's funny the stuff you say. The man above is funny. As you know, I did a show in France a few days ago, right?
Yeah.
So yesterday, the guy was telling me that he wanted me to get Dr. J and George and these guys like Alvin Robertson, Derek Coleman. And guess the name that he gave me that he would give me his email. This is just yesterday. Bill Cartwright.
Oh, my God.
So it's funny you bring him up, but one day later.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and I just threw his name out there, man. That's how you and I think alike, man. That's why we're good friends and all, man. We're family on this stuff here. But I won't ever argue the fact that, oh, man, Derek Garvin, Rudy Campos Jr., we're going to talk a little bit before Spurs here, before we move on to our last topic, which is going to be the top actors. So, Derek, I was put on the hot seat, man. I mean, you got to calm down. So, basically, I was asked to get some solutions for the struggling San Antonio Spurs. I was in a 3-game losing streak. They're in Paris, play the Indiana Pacers in back-to-back games in Paris. So, a little bit of home cooking for Wemby. But I did mention Wemby's points going from 28 points a game down to 17 the last 5 games. Kind of struggling, shooting, below shooting percentage. Shooting percentages down in the 3-point range. Still averages about 10, 11 boards a game. But the biggest solution for me was when the numbers are right and when the numbers are Paul, Castle, Champagnie, Wemby, Barnes, when that lineup on paper and all the numbers has worked and gets you to a fast start, gets you quick out the gate, you've got wins with that lineup. And now you start to see Devin come back in the starting 5. You see Champagnie go to the bench. You see Sohan come up. He gets back in starting 5. My biggest solution was you've got to go back to what works. That lineup worked. Devin is a grown man. Accept the fact that, you know what, the second unit is a lot stronger with Devin, Sohan, and Keldon. I like that idea. If you had a quick solution for the Spurs, what do you have?
Quick solution. Trade deadline February 6th. Quick solution. You find a way to make it happen where you go get Kevin Durant and De'Aaron Fox. That's my quick solution, quick as it can get. Kevin Durant and De'Aaron Fox. and that way it takes a lot of pressure off Wemby. I think right now Wemby is not really a first option. I think he's more of a second option right now. And Kevin Durant is a guy you can put the ball in his hands right now. And I think that would help Wemby's game, take a lot of pressure off him. And, of course, you bring in De'Aaron Fox. That's my realistic thing that I can see for the Spurs. Other than that, with this roster that they currently have, I don't see many changes they can make. The guys have been up and down. Sohan's been injured. Devin's been in and out of the lineup with injuries. And I don't know. Mitch Johnson has been having trouble making adjustments lately. He's learned what it's like to be an NBA coach, how hard it's been for Pop. Now he knows it's not that easy. And with this roster, I don't see many changes they can make, man. You got guys just been banged up. And if you look at the roster from top to bottom, Rudy is really not the most talented roster.
No, and it's funny you mentioned Mitch Johnson, because one of the questions that was posed is, why do they come out of the second half really lackluster? The last 3 games, I mean, they've been outscored by almost 20 points in that third quarter. And it's exactly what I said with Mitch Johnson. I said, are we really pointing the fingers at the players? Because I can point to it at Mitch Johnson. You're not making any adjustments coming out of the locker room. Coach Spoelstra, one of the best coaches in the league in NBA history, in my opinion, comes out of the locker room and they go up, 43-20 in the third quarter? Like that, they outscore the Spurs by 23 points. It's the adjustments that the coaching staff makes coming out of the locker room. And I feel that Mitch, as good of a coach as he is, and no disrespect to Mitch at all, but that is his biggest weakness. It's the adjustments that you make on the fly. Got Brett Brown, you've got other coaches alongside you, but again, you've got to make these adjustments. There's certain times where you go on a run, you got some timeouts. You may want to stop the run, stop the bleeding a little bit. You have some adjustments. Hey, you know what? This lineup doesn't work. Let me fix this lineup. Let me try this. It seems like he wants to go with what he's comfortable with and doesn't want to step outside the box.
Coaches hit a wall as well, Rudy. It's not just the players. Coaches hit walls as well, especially when they're inexperienced coach. And that's what he's going through right now. Other teams are coming at them harder because we're in the second half of the season now, and teams are jockeying for position. As you know, from basically from 3 to 14 right now in the Western Conference. Yeah. Things can change daily. Yeah. So when you got that on, teams are bringing, they coming out firing now. And then Victor's shooting still, for me, too many jump shots. A few weeks ago, he was going down around the basket a lot more. And so, he's back to shooting a lot of threes, and the other guys haven't really stepped up. Chris Paul has not been scoring like we're accustomed to him scoring in the past, but that's not why he was brought in. But Harrison Barnes has been inconsistent. Devin's been inconsistent. Keldon hasn't been used the way I think he should be used. I think Keldon should be a 20-point scorer, even off the bench. But they don't use him like that. So the offense could use some tweaks, I would say. But once again, it's not a very you look at the roster from top to bottom, they got a lot of good role players, but no great role players.
No, definitely not. We'll get to the last part of the comments. Bronny James is the greatest NBA player. Prove me wrong. Of course, Dart's got to jump in there with some comedy right there. You're getting Leha excited. KD and Fox trade all the picks. Now, we've been calling the De'Aaron Fox San Antonio, that we're calling that happening. If not during the trade deadline, Norm, it's going to be in the offseason. But the idea of KD and Fox is very, very possible. Spurs have everything in their back pocket to make that kind of deal, to get both players. They've got the contracts out of work. They've got the draft picks that those teams are going to want. So it could, outside possibility is slim, but you're telling me there's a chance, basically. There's a chance for everything. RC said Pop will be coming back. He should retire, but, who knows? Pop will retire on his own time. If he wants to coach, they're going to allow him to coach right there. What's the Spurs need to do is take Paul out for rest. Wemby and Paul agree together, but Paul is working tired. It does seem like Paul's getting a little bit more frustrated with the Spurs and the losing at this fact of the matter.
He's old, man. I mean, if we know that when Golden State let him go. I love CP3, but he's old now, and don't expect 82 games of a fresh Chris Paul.
Well, and that's the reason why I was saying, people were so excited about Chris Paul coming to San Antonio. Yeah, he helps. But if the Spurs aren't going to contend or win, he doesn't want to be here. He wants to go to a championship team. He wants to go to a contending team. And that's why the contract was perfect. It's a small contract. It can be moved. And they're not going to hesitate to move him. I mean, if they get a pretty decent offer in return, they're going to move him because why? The Spurs are going to cater to Chris Paul. They understand he wants to win. Hey, we appreciate you coming in and bringing a winning culture for a little bit, showing us how to win. But we're going to help you out and send you to a contending team. Not a bad thing, man. But you're right. I mean, he's on the back part of his career. What does he have? Maybe like 2-3 years? Maybe, do you think?
No, I don't even think he has that much left. I think I think he has one more season maximum. And I don't even that, and even then, that means he would have to accept, kind of like Westbrook was coming off the bench. Chris Paul will be at that point after this. This is his last year as a starter in the NBA, and I really believe that. And I think he has one more year. I think he has too much pride. We know he's a very good friend of LeBron's, and those guys used to hang out and all that on the yachts and all that other stuff. I think he's a very prideful guy. And I think next year for me, it'd be the last year for Chris Paul.
We'll see what happens. All right, we're tuning on the bottom here. Drop your all-time actors in the chat. Top 5. All right, Derek, let me get the music because we like to play music in the background. We talk about stuff like this. So, jamming on the rock music. So we're going to end the show with our top 5 all-time actors. Now, I think the safe one we can put in there is Denzel, right? I mean, I think we kind of agree that Denzel's got to be on the list. And I'll give you some of mine. I remember talking to some man, Keanu Reeves has never made a bad movie, ever. So I would probably throw Keanu in my top 5. De Niro's never made a bad one. Maybe I'll go De Niro. It's just too hard, man. Tom Hanks is another one. I mean, you go all the way from The Man with One Red Shoe all the way to Castaway. I mean, you're going way back with The Man with One Red Shoe. That's how far. That dates me way back when I was a kid. Jack Nicholson is another one. I can't go down to 5, man. Give me some help here. You got to help me out.
My friend used to be the mayor of Windcrest a few years ago. We had this conversation today, and I gave him my 5, and he put he picked who would you say just a few minutes ago? He picked Tom Hanks. And he picked Tom Hanks for number 1 for him because he's started talking about versatility, right? And so I couldn't argue, but I got to tell you my 5 because you and I talked about it earlier. Of course, I'm going to start off with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. Those are the 2 first for me, Pacino and De Niro. And then I picked Denzel. I got Tom Cruise. And my 5th is Samuel L. Jackson.
So
I'm leaving out some great ones. I'm leaving out Dustin Hoffman, Brad Pitt, John Travolta, Morgan Freeman, Leonardo DiCaprio, Marlon Brando. It was hard for me, man, but I had to narrow it down to 5. So De Niro, Pacino, Denzel, Samuel L. Jackson, Tom Cruise would be my first 5. But of course, that could change tomorrow. A little more thinking, sleeping on it.
Harrison Ford is another one.
That's another one, yes.
So let's go down your list. Best movie for De Niro.
Best movie? I don't even want to do the Casino or anything. I'm gonna say for me, Raging Bull.
I would say Raging Bull, number 1. Now you said Pacino. Best movie for Pacino.
Oh boy, he's made so many, man. You putting me on the spot. Best movie for Pacino. How about The Godfather?
Okay, I'll give you The Godfather. Definitely on The Godfather. Denzel. Let's go Denzel.
Oh, man. Well, Denzel started off. I don't know. I know you're young. He started off in Soldier Story. But I'm going to take Training Day over the 3 Equalizers. Give me Training Day.
Ooh, Training Day. Can I make a case for Philadelphia?
He's made so many great ones. I'm saying, yeah, you can make a case for Philadelphia. You can make a case for Malcolm X. You can make a case for this one. You can make a case. Yeah, he's made so many.
Forgot about Malcolm X. Before we go on, it's Darth is in here. It says Marlon Brando, Elizabeth Taylor, Jimmy Stewart, Al Pacino, Jodie Foster. So he's going with a couple of women in that.
I was just naming the guys, and I should have been more specific, but I can't argue with Jodie Foster, Elizabeth Taylor either. So
no, and even Brando. I mean, jeez,
like Marlon Brando. See, I had to throw him in there, and I'm old school too. So you got two guys by the name of James Cagney and Humphrey Bogart. So it's so many that were great. Jimmy Stewart. I mean, I could go back, but to narrow it down to 5 was so difficult, and to leave out of Tom Hanks and guys like that, it was amazing. And Samuel Jackson, I can go to White Man Can't Jump, Reasonable Doubt. He made a whole bunch of them as well.
You also made, who were your other two? We got Pacino, De Niro, Denzel. Who were the last two?
Tom Cruise, Mr. Jack Reacher, Tom Cruise.
So what would be Tom Cruise's best for you?
His best.
That's
what's the one with him and Cuba Gooding?
Oh God!
When he's the agent.
Not Mission Impossible, is it?
No, the football movie with him and Cuba Gooding. Cuba Gooding is the
Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire, yeah, because that one he showed his range. Yeah, he could do something. Yeah, he can play that. He can play Jack Reacher. He played in the one with Jamie Foxx when he's a hitman. A very versatile guy, and that's why I got Cruise in there. But these are the people I would want to see. If I just pulled up movies like I do all the time, very rare to not think about Tom Cruise when I pull up movies. And so I hate to leave out these guys, the Brad Pitts and all these guys, but I can only pick 5.
You know, would Days of Thunder be one of his worst movies?
Yeah, for me, that's one, and that's still not a bad one.
No, it's not a bad one. Yeah, it's not.
You know, the ladies today, who's still a heartthrob? If you got Leonardo DiCaprio, you know the ladies love him, right?
Yeah.
But when Tom Cruise walks in, it's like Michael Jordan just walked in. DiCaprio's LeBron, and Tom Cruise is Michael Jordan.
I'll give you that. Who was your last one that you said? It wasn't Tom Hanks, was it? No.
No, I got De Niro, Pacino, Denzel. I covered my 5. Samuel L. Jackson and Tom Cruise.
Okay, so what was Samuel L. Jackson's top?
For me, it'll be an Unreasonable Doubt is one of them. It's, I don't even know if you've seen that one.
It sounds familiar, but I probably haven't seen it. I'd have to see it.
And he was Gator and White Man Can't Jump.
Yeah, he was.
So, but he's another one. What's the one with him and Travolta?
Oh, not Face Off. The Quentin Tarantino movie.
Yeah.
I know which one you're talking about.
He probably made more money in that one. Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction. There you go. Pulp Fiction. Holy cow. Starring Travolta. I mean, John Travolta's another one. Saturday Night Fever.
My friend mentioned Hoffman. I mean, he mentioned versatility. He mentioned Tom Hanks and Travolta. Those were his 2 top. So he went to naming all these movies and all the different roles Travolta has played in. Who starts from Welcome Back, Kotter, and then moves on into some of the roles he moved into. And so, I left out some great ones. I even left out another one that I left out, rest in peace, Patrick Swayze.
Yeah, well, man, Patrick Swayze, yeah, but Patrick Swayze is what? Dirty Dancing, Roadhouse, or his tops. Ghost is another one that was his tops.
Yeah, Ghost. I named Ghost.
Man, I would say that. Who was his other versatile guy besides Travolta?
Oh, man, but besides Travolta and Tom Hanks,
what about Tom
Forrest
Cruise?
Whitaker? Do you know who Forrest Whitaker is?
Yeah, I know Forrest Whitaker. Yeah, I know who Forrest Whitaker is. I definitely know.
Well, here go another one that I left out. You talk about flexibility. There's two. There's Sidney Poitier.
Okay.
And James Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones, man. Got to give it up to James Earl Jones. Hell
Christopher Walken. What about Christopher Walken?
Highlander. I mean.
And here's the last one for me, Rudy. What's I had his name earlier. Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah. Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Philip Seymour Hoffman, man. I mean,
another versatile guy because he was the basketball player with what's his name? Ben Stiller. Was it Along Came Polly?
Yeah, he was in there with Ben Stiller. So Philip Seymour Hoffman. I think he was the guy that was great to just ascend, continue to go to the top of the totem pole. So it was hard, man. But I just wanted to give you something to think about earlier today.
You made me think. Now the Tom Cruise one, I would almost have to fight with the fact that he's top 2 versatile because Jerry Maguire. Then you can go to A Few Good Men, very serious, very laid back in Jerry Maguire. To Top Gun, where it's serious, but it's a little bit, not on that A Few Good Men side. To Tropic Thunder, where he probably had one of his best comedic performances of all time. So,
hey Rudy, 3 that I left out. What are the last 3 I'm gonna mention? Kevin Costner.
Oh, God. Yeah, forgot about him.
Gene Hackman.
Jesus, yeah.
And Richard Gere.
Oh, my God. I never thought of Richard Gere. Holy cow, man. I'm speechless. You can't you can't argue with top 5 when it comes to actors. There's really no argument because...
I said I had to make a list of 20. And a couple guys were still going to be left out.
I agree because my all-time favorite movie is The Hustler with Paul Newman and Jackie Gleason. I mean, that movie is my all-time favorite movie. I can watch it, 100 times a day. I love that movie. So that's my.
You don't even shoot pool, man.
I don't even shoot pool, but.
Hey, I'm gonna watch that tonight, man. Now you got me thinking of what I was gonna watch tonight. I'm gonna watch that again. Because that is like one of the epic movies that's ever been made.
Mm-hmm. It is.
I rank that way up there with Raging Bull.
Yeah, it's number 1 for me. Every time it was on, I watched it. I owned the Blu-ray. I owned everything. I mean, it's
Rudy. Excuse me. I keep bringing up. How could I bring up Raging Bull and don't mention Joe Pesci?
Joe Pesci's another one, man. Joe Pesci. How comedy?
Just go to Goodfellas. Just go to Goodfellas right alone.
Yeah, Goodfellas. My Cousin Vinny. I mean, you go. Golly, man. There's just so many that we can't. Well,
when I say Goodfellas. In Goodfellas, you got De Niro, you got Ray Liotta, and you got Joe Pesci.
Yeah, you do. You got a trifecta there. You got to try.
I left out Ray Liotta, another great actor.
Yeah, I don't think Ray Liotta would get a whole lot of love in the top part of the actor's part, but I mean, think about it. I guess his only big thing was Goodfellas. If you think about it, I mean, he was in a lot of other things, but I think Goodfellas was kind of what made him when it comes to Ray Liotta. But I don't know, man. I hope you enjoy The Hustler tonight.
We'll be talking for 2 days, man.
Yeah, it's gonna go on forever, man. What won't go on?
Let's do the females one day.
Oh my God, that might be a little bit.
The Joan Crawfords and Betty Davises of the world, and
Meryl Streep right off the bat.
Yeah, Meryl, of course. Yeah, Glenn Close. We'll do that another day. Yeah.
We might have to end the week with the top women actresses of all time. So. One guy that came up to my mind, Robert Duvall, is another one. Holy cow. I'm forgetting a whole bunch of people.
Robert Duvall. There's another one. A really, really good one. And here's another one. Clint Eastwood.
Oh my God. How do we forget Clint Eastwood?
Charles Bronson.
Can we throw in Tommy Lee Jones in there?
Yeah, you should. And then he got an advantage over a lot of them because where did he live? Out in this area.
Some little place in Texas that I think we know very well.
Speaking of him, how about Matthew McConaughey?
Yeah, I can't deny that. Guy made an impact with oh my God, the old teen movie from back in the day. I can't even remember it.
You know, McConaughey, before we get off, I don't know if you saw this movie. It's a movie when he had AIDS.
Yeah, Dallas Buyers Club.
Okay, so you saw that. What did you think about that movie?
That was an epic movie.
He showed his versatility.
That was a great movie. I really enjoyed the movie. That was an epic movie. I mean, I don't know if it's top 10. I have to do a top 10 movie thing, but I don't know if it's top 10, but it's definitely ranked way up there for me. I really enjoyed Dallas Buyers Club. That was a great movie by Matthew McConaughey, but go watch The Hustler, man. I think I might watch it too. If the family's asleep, I might put it on the TV while I'm getting ready for bed, and I might watch The Hustler here. But I watch
Honeymooners regularly at night. I've been on my Honeymooners kick in Beverly Hillbillies, so since I'm watching Honeymooners, I might as well watch The Hustler. Shout out to Jackie Gleason.
Oh man, where do you catch Jackie Gleason Honeymooners at? What channel is it?
I watch it on YouTube.
Wow. See, I'm going to have to do that because Jackie Gleason, man. I mean, Hustler for me.
I've been watching them every night for like the last month, man. I'm telling you.
Hey,
Honeymooners, man. Ralph Cramden, man, and Ed Norton. Yes, sir.
I'm going to throw one more that we may have forgotten besides Jackie Gleason, and that's the great Burt Reynolds.
Yeah, there's another one.
Smokey and the Bandit. I mean,
well, Deliverance.
Well, Deliverance, yeah. But Smokey and the Bandit, the series for me was Chef's Kiss, man. I loved all the Smokey and the Bandits. They were all hilarious for me.
And shout out to Dwayne Rock Johnson. I'm talking about all these great actors. I can't leave Rock out of there because Rock's a good one, man. Paul Walker was on his way. It's been so many great ones.
Yeah, like you said, we can spend a whole nother hour, maybe a whole nother day on this type of topic here. But we'll be back tomorrow, definitely on a Wednesday edition of Sweep the League. It'll be our wacky Wednesday edition. So be sure to be on the lookout. Go to YouTube, search Sweep the League TV. That'll be a subscribers. You can get everything that we've got from Sweep the League TV. Sweep Unplugged, another episode's dropping tomorrow. Also, Grading the Market and STL 316, the two new podcasts coming out from the STL network. So for Hall of Famer Derek Griffin, Rudy Campos Jr., until we sweep it again, we'll see you later, knuckleheads.
Everybody have a great night. Stay safe.